I'm joined now first on CNBC with His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us. I want to kick off by asking you about what we've seen over the last couple of days. A lot of contentious conversations happening behind the scenes about getting these cuts done, but you stood firm. Is there a new sheriff in town at OPEC?
No, I wouldn't call it contagious. I would call it deep discussion. Taking stock of what we were doing in the past 2 years, ensuring that our colleagues who had some problem of not performing to what is expected of them, that we all take the necessary assurances that they will do exactly what they have committed themselves to. After all, it's all voluntary in what you need to do and how you could conduct yourself in attending to your commitments. Priority to what you could do as a way forward, given the assurances that are required. So it was not just me. I think we are all the sheriffs. Those who had discharged their commitment were all the sheriffs. And I don't want to put it in that context that because if there is a sheriff, there is always a villain. Respectively to the situation that some of the countries that were not performing, they had given us a qualification for their, if I could call it politely, their lack of adherence. But we all had understood it, and we were all willing to move forward, because what counts now is what we will do in the future. And I'm perfectly happy to, in behalf of everybody, to say that we were given the assurance and therefore we moved ahead. So it was that piece. The other piece is what we need to do next. And again, we had to spend some good time reviewing numbers and crunching numbers and looking at statistics and looking at scenarios. And then comes the, I wouldn't call it the science, but it's the amalgam of science and art of how you could divide these necessary prerequisites amongst first the OPEC countries and then the OPEC non-OPEC in a fair way, whereby you could assume that these countries will be able to discharge their commitment. It's a very intricate balance. And it's tough sometimes, simply because you have to be mindful of the concept of fairness.
And walk me through what happens next. How quickly are we going to see a review of the deal that you made today?
Well, the new deal will kick in 1st of January. I think we will see better numbers of some countries, as I was promised by our friend from Nigeria, that there will be in full compliance for the month of November, which is, we will be able to verify that in somewhere mid-December. We were told also by our friend from Iraq that they will have been doing something extra in terms of their performance. So in reality, I think we will be able to see also their performance, everybody's performance in December. That will appear in mid-January. But the new deal will kick in on 1st of January, and we will be able to see everybody's performance somewhere in mid-February.
How closely correlated was this decision to the pricing of the long-awaited Aramco IPO? Because we've already seen a reaction in oil since your comments just a little earlier ago, 2%.
It just so happened that the timing of OPEC meeting was decided way in June. The timing of the IPO was decided just more recently. If it was to be intertwined, we would have elected to defer it or bring it earlier or something. That is not to make it coincide with any OPEC meeting.
So 30 years in the industry.
But the fact that they coincided, people try to draw a correlation between the two. But, it's some media outlet tried to use that as a caveat for getting us to explain what we are trying to do in this OPEC meeting.
Would you describe that
By
perception
the
of
way,
Saudi Arabia as fake news?
No. I hate to associate the not only the evaluation. I hate to associate the company. The company, which is Aramco, which is the biggest energy company in the whole world, which is the company that has the cleanest slate in terms of delivery and performance and what have you, and resilience, as we have noticed recently in September. It can never be evaluated by a tweak here or a tweak there, or at 1% or 2% here. And by the way, the testament is to look at the book and see who had subscribed to Aramco, because you will see lots of pension funds, lots of banks, lots of sovereign funds, and and a big time mix endowments. Surely one would simply deduce from that is that they're there for the long term.
So 30 years in the industry, how would you describe a success for the kingdom with this Aramco IPO as it goes live next Wednesday?
I will tell you two things. I would be maybe reprimanded for divulging that, but a bright day of my life, one of the, I think it's the brightest and proudest day of my life is that when we decided to make this IPO more of family and friend. I did change it, not friend and family, but I will do it family and friend. We were also inclusive, because I don't want people to take the wrong impression that we're somewhat xenophobic about the existence of foreign participation. But it was a decision that we had to take, because we wanted to make sure that the evaluation benefit goes to first and foremost to our people, to our endowments, to our friends, to those who believed in Saudi Arabia and believed in Aramco, believe in Saudi Arabia, the country, the stable country politically and economically, and the company, and what is the ecosystem that this company is operating under.
Did it hurt that there was a suggestion that you wouldn't get that feeling with an international listing?
I've never believed that international listing would get us that valuation. But what I believe is that once this company is traded, I'm sure that some of the guys who had this questionable think will be ouching, and they will be chewing their thumb. I hope they don't hurt themselves and go to the hospital for any treatments.
Do you think we might see an international listing on down the pike?
Well, Prince Mohammed operates in a good way. You remember, I did say in the FII, I think you have it, and I did say that we will do it the right time, the right place, the Saudi way, and it is going to be done, as I said, with the decision from Prince Mohammed himself. I think he did make the right call. The testament is the 4.65 coverage of the IPO, and a furthermore testament of his wise decision and timely decision would be once we start trading that company. And I don't want to see those who had questions, I don't want to see them ouching. I want them to be ready next time, so when we do another IPO, they will be fast and furious, running with their checks coming to their banks, enlisting for allocable shares of Aramco.
So one person who's remained remarkably silent over the last couple of days, which is a bit new for him, is the U.S. President, Donald Trump, in terms of his rhetoric in recent years when it comes to OPEC.
I wouldn't call it rhetoric.
What would you call it?
He's the President of the United States of America. He has every right to say everything that he wants to.
You just gave him a big gift, do you think?
Well, I gave my country a big gift. I'm more concerned about giving my country, our people, the gifts that I could ever give.
But in terms of shale producers,
my own blood and sweat and time and effort and everything I could do for that country. I'm a bit emotional now, because once you talk about country, all of this rationalism of mine just switch off, and I become a ball of emotion. So I serve at the pleasure of His Majesty the King, his Crown Prince, and I'm proud citizen of serving my own people and our own people and and my own country.
So when it comes to the shale producers, though, it seemed as if
They're good
highly
people.
indebted, you had them over the rocks.
No.
And you seem to have tossed them a lifeline, no?
Well, what we need is
What happened to the battle for market share?
I can't wait to be somewhere in Texas or Oklahoma or those regions that are going through the trouble and say, cheers, mates.
You think they're going to say
the
thank you?
Brits would say, cheers, mates. We're in solidarity with you. And by the way, you know, in their defense, what did they do? They didn't do anything wrong. They produced more barrels. They put the U.S. in the map in terms of its energy requirements. They are growing the economy. They're creating jobs. They're creating a much more secure energy mix to the U.S. They're resolving a predominantly serious occupation with regard to security of supply. They did a remarkable job.
Are we ever going to see some kind of formal organization in terms of the communications between Shale and OPEC?
I understand their legal limitation, and I am not the born yesterday person. I know there are all sorts of antitrust issues and what have you, but and we're doing it for ourselves. The fact that other producers who are not a party to this gathering, well, we will welcome them, but we also understand every country's legal limitations, and we will be more than happy to help. And you know, we get invited. Aramco has a big offices in Houston. We work with many of the international oil companies. We have partnership. We belong to the same club.
So I want to
and
ask
by the
you,
way, Aramco is going to go more and more international, and it will be our endeavor. Prince Mohammed endeavor is actually to make Aramco nothing different than a typical IOC.
they have a lot to answer to when it comes to shareholders, a typical IOC.
Well, the shareholder is in this time around is the government of Saudi Arabia, the main shareholder. But Aramco goes through a lot of grilling as a typical shareholder too.
Sir, I have to ask you quickly about security. The latest U.S. intelligence has said that Iran is placing short-range ballistic missiles inside Iraq, and those have a range of 1,000 kilometers, which is about 650 miles. That puts it well in range of Aramco facilities. Are you concerned about the security of Aramco today?
Well, we've seen the havoc that they have done in September 14th. But I'm also assured that our government and many other countries that saw the importance of protecting these facilities, that every necessary measure should be taken. I cannot leave here without making sure that everybody grasp it again, that impacting Aramco facility does not just impact Saudi Arabia or the Saudi economy or the Saudi citizen. No, it affects every citizen in the whole world, because any big impacts on Aramco supplies will permeate all the way to every household anywhere in the world.
And that's ostensibly why the U.S. president decided to send thousands of U.S. troops into Saudi Arabia. What would be your message to the parents of those thousands of soldiers who are going to Saudi Arabia to ostensibly protect Saudi oil supplies?
Well, I owe it also to, we're grateful for the help that we're getting from the U.S. We're also, I have to emphasize also, we are grateful to the sympathy and support that we get from everywhere in the world. I think that spirit should prevail, that the protection of Saudi Arabia, the protection of the water lanes, the protection of Aramco facility is not just an issue that would be just of concern of Saudi Arabia and Saudi government and Saudi people, but also the whole world. The whole world need to understand, every household need to understand that fiddling with security of supply of energy is a taboo, and the whole world need to do everything to make sure that this is not going to be permitted.
Does that mean you would welcome more U.S. troops to the region?
Well, I leave it to those who are attending to this issue. I am more of an energy minister, and I have enough on my plate. Well, this is where I could add a value to. These other subjects are not my topic, and I have no
But you just said they're completely intertwined.
Well, they're intertwined, but you know, we believe in division of labor. I do my job in the area that I know better, and I know also that we have capable people that are attending to that other side of the story.
Your Royal Highness, thank you so much for joining CNBC First from OPEC. Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.